Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds and ambassadors everywhere, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing and another installment in the Ambassadorial Review series. And tonight, we'll be bringing you our thoughts on Matthew Reeves, the Batman. And if this is your first visit to the Ambassadorial Wing, welcome. I hope you enjoy your visit here. Hope you enjoy the stream and our discussion tonight. And with me this evening, I have got a regular to the Ambassador Wing and ambassador himself in many ways, Mr. Zach Leary, and a newcomer, but also a face I have had the opportunity to stream with on a few occasions. Mr. Fade. Gentlemen, good evening. Good to have you aboard with me.
Good to be back, man.
Good to have you both here. And everybody that's been hanging out in the chat, Mr. Ace Mulwick and Price is Right Reviews, gentlemen, welcome to you as well. Good to see you both as always, and hope you enjoy the review. And also to the chat who just popped in, just George. George, it is good to see you, my friend. Thank you for popping in tonight. But yeah, as the thumbnail said, tonight we'll be breaking down the Batman and asking, I think, a relatively interesting question. Is it a modern masterpiece? So, with all that being said, let's jump into the discussion, gentlemen. I open the floor. Let's begin. The Batman.
Yeah, for me, the film was like a battery. I mean, it was just tremendous. I mean, after years and years of being beaten down and kicked in the stomach, and I've got a couple broken ribs by DC, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good now. The film is, here's an interesting observation that I had was, this is the first, I've heard people say this, but I've never had this thought myself watching a superhero film, but I said to myself, this is the first time I've seen a movie that looks like a comic book. That was one of the impressions I had.
Yeah, for me, this movie, I didn't go into this wanting to see it for the fact that it was a comic book movie. I am a Batman fan. That is pretty much a given. He is one of the few DC heroes that I actually have any interest in, honestly. But I more went for the cast because this movie had I think, honestly, a absolutely stellar cast. I mean, just well-known actors and actresses, actress across the board. And I honestly, when I walked out, and I've seen this movie twice now, I went and saw it Thursday night with a buddy of mine who is a hardcore Batman fan. I think just as big as you are, Zach. And I went again this afternoon to the IMAX, and I went and saw it again, and I was like, this was good, just as good the second time around. So, but yeah, the interesting thing with this film is there's no big opening, there's no fanfare. It just has the title card, the Batman, and then we jump straight into the movie, straight into the story. And I honestly love that fact. I truly do. So, Fade, Zach, your thoughts?
This movie, it was kind of really up my alley. See, with the different Batmans, we've gotten the super heroic Batman with Keaton and those group, that group of Batman. We've gotten the city-saving Batman with Christian Bale, and now we've got just the detective. And this is something I've been looking for. I come from a background of comic books and all that. this is the Batman that I'm looking for. And I love the stories that they pulled information, like they pulled storyline from for this movie. I loved year one. I loved year two, The Long Halloween, all of those. So this movie was right up my alley. Plus, I'm a true crime buff, so the whole Riddler with the Zodiac angle was great for me.
Yeah.
I have to say, this is the first Batman movie, because in the comic books, Batman is like the boogeyman to criminals. He's always been like, it's in the shadows, man. We can't go over there in the shadows because he's there. He's anywhere that I am. And none of the other Batman movies really like came down to that, except for a little bit of Keaton in the '89 Batman. But like, this movie actually made you feel that the criminals fear. They feel, like that one where the guy's going down, he thinks he's going to dash down the alley, but then he's like, nah, never mind, I'm gonna go the other way. It gave the Batman like that intimidation factor that we've all been looking for.
Yes.
That whole sequence to me was like a comic book with the narration and everything. It just was perfect.
Well, it's also like the old film noir movies, like you had that overarching narration from the protagonist and all of that in those old noir movies. So it's like kind of reminded me of those old film noir detective movies too, which I really love.
Well, the thing that has been remarked about this movie is it is truly a detective story, and that's the thing, one of the aspects of this movie that I really enjoyed. And because we've gotten bits and pieces of that aspect of Batman's character as the detective, but this movie really delves deep into the detective aspect of his character, and not to mention also him working side by side with Jim Gordon. Now, this isn't Commissioner Gordon; this is just Detective Gordon, and I have to say, Jeffrey Rush as Jim Gordon, he worked. He did. Him and Pattinson, I think, had really good chemistry working side by side, and you get a real sense of there's still some uneasiness on Gordon's part because he's only known the Batman for 2 years, and he says it when they're down in the parking garage, looking for the car that the Joker or the Riddler left his next riddle in. He's like, we've worked together for 2 years. I don't even know who you really are. And even in the scene in the aftermath of the Riddler's attack at the mayor's funeral, at his memorial service, and they're in the holding cell or the interrogation cell, and you really get a chance to see just how uneasy Gordon is still around the Batman. He trusts him, but he's still uneasy about him, and I think that is a great angle to go at with this particular version of the Batman, because we're 2 years into his career, or only 2 years into his career as the Batman. And Zach, you both hit upon it perfectly. The opening narration by Bruce at the beginning really set the tone for this movie overall. And then the narration at the end where he says, I need to be something more for this city. I need to be something more than vengeance. People need hope. And that really shows an evolution of the character just within a span of a few days. And, the funny thing is, the story just literally does take place over a few days. It goes from Halloween night to just within a week of the opening of this film, and that is, I think, really a good piece of storytelling, and the fact that you can see that a person's life and their personality and the evolution of themselves can go that quickly. So, and I want to give a very warm welcome to a regular of the chat. He's not been here in a while, but we always like having him on board. ladies and gentlemen, give a very warm welcome to just George, or in this case, just the Batman.
Yeah, what's
George,
up?
good to see you, bud.
Good to see you guys too. How's everyone doing?
Oh,
Doing
man,
okay.
we're here.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, George, I just kind of went a little bit of I gave a little bit of an explanation on my thoughts on the movie and everything. What did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. I love the Norrish Alfred Hitchcock feel of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love the performances. From like obviously Pattinson as Batman to like the villains, and the fact that it felt like a true detective Batman movie, which I felt like was always kind of lacking in the previous films.
Yeah, that's something I actually remarked on before you came in, George. You do see the dynamic of Gordon and Batman working side by side, and I will say this: one of the really cool pieces of tech that we see in this movie is the audio video recording contact lenses. I have never heard of such a thing, but I think it's a really cool piece of tech. I will not lie. So, your thoughts on that, guys?
Well, they had the best Batmobile ever. Okay,
Yes.
I don't care.
One of the best.
I really don't care.
One of the best. Yes.
Gorgeous. A gorgeous
I love
car.
that. And the thing is that's actually a throwback to a Neil Adams design from 1970.
Well, I
The
was
way the car looks.
super impressed by it, man. I mean, a lot of the tech was very interesting. The Batcave was interesting. Everything was kind of designed in a unique way, very dynamic. Even the character choices that were made with the writing were very unique and dynamic. What's impressive to me about the movie is that in many ways, I'm not saying better or worse than, but I think that a lot of the characters in this movie rival the Christopher Nolan films. And this film, just as a whole, rivals those films as well. This Alfred was amazing. Andy Serkis, not my first casting choice for Alfred. I thought he was amazing. Same, you mentioned the guy who played Jim Gordon. Phenomenal. John Turturro, who plays Falcone. Not who I would pick.
Yeah.
Not who I would pick, but he was awesome. Very low key and kind of menacing and almost like an old mafia, like Goodfellas kind of way.
Yes.
Well, see, the thing I liked about Turturro, and I was going to bring this up but you brought it up, so like it reminded me of it. Normally you see him in movies, he kind of plays kind of a zany, kind of highly frenetic character, but like his Falcone was, and I expected that he was going to play Falcone off with like kind of like the humor thing, but like his Falcone was intimidating, dude. Like he didn't bring his normal energy to the movie, and I think that's a good thing. It worked.
It was dynamic, and there's something I don't know if you share my opinion on this, but I feel that when a comedic actor is given good dramatic writing, it's very interesting. Like Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, or many examples. But give a comedy guy
like Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society. Perfect example.
Robin Williams is great. Give a comedy guy some good drama, and it can usually work very well. Bob Odenkirk, another great example.
Yes. So, and I do want to send a shout out to the chat, Orange Chat Reviews, or my buddy. It's good to see you. And I did see your comments here. Orange Hat, his review, he did his own review over on his channel. He gave it a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10. I'd say that's a fair score. I mean, I would go a little bit higher, but hey, that's
well,
me.
He says in between those.
Yeah.
So what? 7.2.
Well, we reviewed it the other night over on the Poindexter Lounge, and there were only like 3 or 4 of us on the panel that had actually seen it that night. And those of us that did, we gave it, right around that, said those same numbers. I gave it a 7, but the other guys gave it a 7.5 or an 8. But I mean, and this movie does have a few issues, but they're not like overly glaring, and it doesn't take you out of the movie.
It's flawed.
Yeah.
The only moment that took me out of it was the Joker. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Oh, at the end.
You know?
Oh, at the end.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
I
was
can
the only
understand that.
thing that brought me out of it.
Well, see, on that aspect,
Really
I was a little bit. I'm a little bit different than you on that. Now, do I think that we've had a little bit of Joker fatigue here over the last, decade or so? Yeah, probably.
Yes.
But being as I'm kind of biased when it comes to Joker because he's my favorite like comic book villain of any. Him and Magneto are my favorite comic book villains, and so I don't have the Joker fatigue, but I kind of can see it in other people. So
yeah.
No, I don't. It just the portrayal was bizarre to me. That did not gel with the rest of the film. But I haven't seen him yet, right? We only saw him for 30 seconds, but
they're talking
the
about
high-pitched voice and just the whole thing. It was just kind of weird.
The rumor is that he's going to be involved in the Arkham TV series they've got coming out for HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I saw Reeves talk about him, and I like where they're going. They're going to the Smiling Man look, which is going to be good, but
which is based on the old God, what was that actor's name? He played a character called Gwynplaine. Got back in the silent era. God, who was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know the guy I'm talking. The guy that they based Joker's original look off of, anyway. So,
well, let me ask you this: if you gave it a 7, what did you want from it? I mean, we've been dying with Batfleck and all this DC garbage. What did you want? This is far superior.
Well, okay, don't take me for being one of the Restore the Snyderverse weirdos, okay? Because I'm not.
I don't think anybody else here is. Go ahead, Dave.
Look. I see there's two different types of Snyder fans. Okay, there's the ones that are actual Snyder fans, like my buddy Enosh over at Poindexter Lounge, the guy that runs Poindexter Lounge. He's a Snyder fan, but he also understands that he's like me with it. He's like, well, if it never comes, then that's cool. If we never get any more Snyder, then that's great. He loves this new stuff coming out. You know what I'm saying? He's looking forward to the Flash right now. But anyway, what did I want out of this movie? There's a little. It's a little long. And if you give me another watch, my points will probably go up on it.
Well, let me make it easier then. What would you give like Batman v Superman?
Ooh,
out of 10.
6.
You're only giving the Batman one more point than BVS.
Okay,
come on, man.
Well, you're
this
referring
is
to the
like a
extended
real
cut?
movie. Like the BVS to me just feels plastic. You know
You got
what I mean?
You've got a point.
Well, are you referring to the Ultimate Edition, like a 6 out of 10?
They both suck.
The Ultimate Edition, I like the Ultimate Edition, but like that, my opinion on BVS is that they tried to stuff way too many storylines into one movie.
Yes.
And
Fair.
Doomsday sucks.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a Superman fan. I have the S shield tattooed on my arm. Okay, and that storyline, like the Death of Superman storyline and Funeral for a Friend and all of that, back in the day in the 90s, those were my jam. I was collecting DC heavy back then.
Wow.
And just for them to throw like a ton of different storylines into one movie, it was convoluted mess. Okay, look. Let me think.
Well, let me throw this at you. As a fan of that particular storyline, and I'm also a fan of The Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
To me, what they did with that material is just I mean, the material itself is so much better. Why not just do 2 separate films or 3 or 4 separate films and do the material justice?
Yes.
We talked about this on a channel I was once a part of that is now defunct for the time being. But me and my co-host on that channel talked about how they could have turned that into like 4 or 5 movies and given the characters time to grow and everything else, and it would have been much better. Okay. Like I said, convoluted storylines, too much. They padded the hell out of that movie. Now with the Batman, see, the Batman's got something that most superhero movies don't. The Batman's actually cinema, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It has that film noir taste. It has it almost felt like the Joker movie to me. That they have a lot of the same feeling, in my opinion. Like they could almost be connected. I know they're not, and they're never going to be, but they could be.
Yeah. Well, and, here's the thing: we've all kind of hit upon this point, and I want to say hello to the chat, PLK Entertainment. It's good to see you, bud. Yeah, I have to agree. It is a very solid film. I'm a little more generous because honestly, in terms of the Batman character, and I want to get y'all's takes on this. I honestly, though this is his first outing, we'll have to wait and see what they do because obviously I think there's been talks of a trilogy, and I'm very happy to hear that. So, I actually like Pattinson.
Oh, he did a great job. He did a great job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah, I'm gonna.
he's for me, Pattinson, I think, stands amongst my other two favorite Batman, and that is, of course, uh, Michael Keaton and Christian Bale.
Well, I
He's.
do gotta say this. Oh,
Mhm.
go ahead, Ambassador.
Oh, go ahead, George. I can come back to my point in a minute. So,
Oh no, I was gonna say like for me when it comes to like Bale and Keaton, Bale's the perfect Bruce Wayne. I felt like Keaton was the perfect Batman. I feel like Pattinson kind of goes more along with like Pattinson goes along more with Keaton because you don't really see his Bruce Wayne that much in this film.
That is true.
Well, I was thinking to myself on that. You could almost, if you took the whimsy out of the Burton movies, you could almost see this as like a prequel to the Burton movies. Just the look of Gotham and the way that he's learned. Okay, first of all, you can't really down Pattinson's portrayal in this movie. Not only is he good, but he's also, you have to know, he's learning how to play Batman. As an actor, he's learning to be the Batman. And
yes,
very few actors, when you start a franchise, very few actors actually get the character down pat the first movie. There's going to be some hitches. I mean, Keaton was kind of. I mean, I love '89 Batman so much. But even Keaton had some issues feeling the Batman when he was playing him in the '89 Batman. So also, I was going to say something that kind of reminds me of something George said. It seems to me that all of the men who have played Batman, with the exception of Adam West, they're either really, really good at Bruce Wayne or they're really, really good at Batman, and none of them get both together, in my opinion. Now, with Pattinson, the whole thing, we really can't judge Pattinson's Batman.
Why did you exclude Adam West?
Why did I exclude Adam West? Because,
because he could do neither?
Probably.
Sorry, everybody.
But you also have to take that for what it is. That was meant to be campy.
Yes.
So, that's the reason why I never really add Adam West into my approximation of the Batman actors, because that show is on a whole different level. It's almost parody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I didn't. I'm not saying I didn't like it, because when I was a kid, that shit was funny. But
before I get into my next point, I want to welcome another addition to the panel this evening. This is the fellow I had the opportunity to watch his channel. He has a very good channel, has a lot of good, insightful discussion, does a lot of good reviews and so on. And give a warm welcome to, well, he may not be the Journal Zod, but General Zod. Zod, good to see you,
Hey,
buddy.
what's up?
Hey, Zod.
Good to see you, buddy.
Hey.
Jesus, a fellow Kryptonian on the panel, really?
Zod, good to have you aboard, bud.
Hey, Zod, in the backstage, you and I got to talk, all right?
All right.
No, when are we taking over this planet, man? When are we taking over this planet? Anyway.
All right, gentlemen. You're both pretty. Now quit it. Zod, your thoughts on the Batman. Did you like it? Did you hate it? How'd you feel?
I absolutely positively love this movie.
Okay.
Everybody who's talked shit about Patterson's acting, please do me a favor. Shut the fuck up, finally.
Yes.
I've been saying this guy's a great actor. I said I will die on this hill, and I'm so glad people coming out going, oh, well, you know, and I go, I called it. I called it since The Lighthouse. I said, watch
Yes.
The Lighthouse.
Yes.
The person who can play off of Willem Dafoe obviously is an amazing actor. So as far as I heard what you guys were saying, and I think it should be made clear, this is year 2 Batman, okay? This is like, this storyline is literally right after year 1. Like, if you watch Batman year 1 on HBO Max and go into this, I can see like what Matt Reeves was doing. It feels like very natural. So there is no Bruce Wayne when you really think about it. Bruce Wayne is Batman's disguise. He is Batman. So I like how this movie kind of frames that, yeah, he doesn't have a Bruce Wayne persona because he hasn't built it. He is still trying to get past this tragedy. He is always Batman right now. And I thought that was an interesting approach.
I've got something to add to that too. There was a story, I can't remember if it was actually media or if it was in the comics, where Alfred was talking to Bruce about being more Bruce Wayne than, I mean, they did that a little bit in this movie, but like it's been like there was a big long discussion. I still can't remember what media it was, but where Alfred was telling Bruce that he's got to be more Bruce Wayne and not so much the Batman. And right now, Pattinson's Batman is still a wounded animal, is how I heard it said before. Like, he doesn't quite know who he is or what he wants to be.
Yeah. I thought it was a tremendous job. I think that like conveying that split between those two personalities hasn't come yet, because this is literally Batman's like second year. Like, and like the way they convey it too, the way he looks tired all the time, like everything. I just thought it was very brilliantly, very well shot, and I got everything that was going on.
Well, I want to throw this out there for a minute. This is the first film in years where they actually were using shadows. I mean, on characters' faces and with framing. I was super impressed by it.
Yes. Well, this movie, the cinematography is excellent, honestly. You know, like I said, I went and saw this at a regular theater, and then went and saw it this afternoon at the IMAX, and you can tell the difference in how how the shots are framed between the two different filming processes. And honestly, the IMAX really makes everything pop that much more. The other interesting thing I found was in the IMAX, everything seemed a little more gritty, a little more grimy, a little more lived in. This was a very run down and broken Gotham. And honestly, I loved that. And, you know, you have all the signage that's kind of decayed and worn down of Project Renewal for Gotham that was started by Thomas Wayne during his mayoral campaign, and it's all just been, well, as the Riddler said, it's been one big lie. And I have to admit, I love the intertwining of Batman's family or Bruce Wayne's family into so many other prominent figures in Gotham City, in particular Carmine Falcone. And I have to say, just to kind of reiterate what y'all brought up about John Turturro's performance as Carmine Falcone, I didn't know who they were going to cast. I didn't even know Carmine Falcone was going to be a character that was prominent in this movie. But reading The Long Halloween, I haven't had an opportunity to read Batman Year One, but I couldn't think of a better actor to play this character. And he really embodies that old mobster mentality and the organized crime that has run Gotham for decades upon end. And I have to honestly admit, I am a fan of detective stories. Me and Zach have talked about this on several occasions, and we're going to be doing some movies that deal with organized crime over the next few weeks and months. And having a movie like this, and everything, a detective story set in the Batman universe, which is its own universe as far as I'm concerned, is really a nice thing to see. Just a few weeks ago, me and Mam Ambassador went to see Death on the Nile, another, I think, honestly, another great murder mystery movie, which we didn't get a chance to finish, but we're going to try to here in the near future. I love the idea that detective stories and murder mysteries are making a resurgence because they are a great... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just with Death on the Nile, I'm so glad that somebody brought that movie up. Is it just me, or was that movie criminally underrated? And I'll say it right now, and I've gotten a lot of hate for this. I don't like Murder on the Orient Express. Like, I don't like that movie at all.
Yeah.
But I love Death on the Nile. I thought it was fantastic.
The dude with the mustache was awesome. Whoever that guy is.
Well, that's Hercule Poirot, played by Kenneth Branagh.
Yep.
Who also directed.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic.
So, but yeah, honestly, if Hollywood and the entertainment industry are going back to telling detective stories and they're going to use different genres to do it, I'm all for it. So, I really truly am, because I love a movie that makes me think.
Well,
and that's
Boycott Knives Out. Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I will not see it. Refuse to.
So did I.
Yeah, I absolutely, I hated it. So did my girl. I hated it because we both figured it out in the middle of the movie, and we're like, "Oh, okay, we got an hour and a half, so this was a waste of time."
Who was the killer?
But I like the acting and the actors, but not so much the mystery. I think he gave away too much, to be honest. But yes, I did see Knives Out. I don't hate Rian Johnson as much as other people, which is understandable because of the Last Jedi. But I followed his other film works. I think he's a decent director. Just just a little bit. How do I put it? Arrogant.
I think he got lucky, dude. I'm not so sure he's that talented. I think he kind of got lucky being where he is. But
he did.
I did want to bring up.
Yeah. Like,
if you guys wanted to talk about Colin Farrell,
Yes.
I thought he did a great job.
Oh yes, absolutely.
In the film.
Yeah, we can.
What about the makeup job on Colin
Amazing
Farrell?
makeup job on him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that was the standout. Like, the standout character for me was the Penguin.
Yeah, really good.
Like, you could barely see Colin Farrell inside all the prosthetic and everything. And in his acting, Colin Farrell's always been sort of like blown out for being like playing the same guy in every movie that he's in.
Not lately, though. Not lately.
Not lately. He's done a lot of
lately.
He's done a lot of indie stuff lately.
Yeah, The Lobster. That's a fucking great movie, The Lobster.
Yeah. But like in this,
I've never been a big Colin Farrell guy, but I'll give it to him, man. Like, yeah, with the indie scene and now in this, like, has he gotten better since his age? Like,
Yeah,
I remember some of his old stuff.
Well, I liked that.
like as he gets older, he's getting better.
Well, I like this dynamic of Batman going around and talking to the Penguin and talking to some of these villains, right, without like arresting them or like fighting them or having a confrontation with them. Really, like that's something that happens all the time in like the Arkham games, where you just go and talk to the Penguin or talk to somebody just to get information. I'm not sure if we've really seen that in a feature film, the way it was kind of portrayed in this.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Arkham game inspiration in here. Like the dynamic between like Bruce and Alfred reminded me of like the Arkham Origins like dynamic between Bruce and Alfred.
Mm-hmm.
Like where like Bruce is like full of rage and like Alfred's worried he's gonna lose himself to this vigilante, and then something happens that ultimately brings them back together.
Yeah, they did do that a little bit with this one. Huh, that's an interesting take.
Yeah,
to me,
and
Batman Returns is more of a Burton movie than a Batman movie.
Well, and the story behind Batman Returns is that Burton really didn't want to come back and make his second Batman movie, but Warner wanted him to. So he made that one overly whimsical to try to throw him off.
Oh, and I want to say this to everybody that might have this misconception, and guys, be careful because I might blow you. I don't want to blow your ears out, but I'm going to. I may unintentionally. Batman does actually kill.
Thank you, God. Thank you for saying it, dear Jesus in hell.
I've been saying it for years. I've been saying it for years.
Okay, look, like, and I've argued this forever and a day. I come from, like I said before in the show, I come from a background of comic books. Like, I started reading comics in the 70s, but like I have read all the way back to the Golden Age comics and everything. I've owned several issues of the like Golden Age runs and everything, and like before the publication of Seduction of the Innocent with Frederick Wertham back in the 50s, before they had to change comic books for a lot of different reasons and the Comics Code Authority and shit came around, Batman killed on the regular. Oh, and by the way, I want to blow your mind even farther with Batman. He used to use guns back in the Golden Age.
That surprised me.
But a lot of these kids that have been, around just in the last like 20 years, man, they want to argue this fact with you. Well, I don't care what he used to do in the past. That's all the past. Batman doesn't kill. Yeah, whatever, dude. Come on.
Dude, I've had this argument. I could pull any Batman. You want to go Nolan, you want to go Schumacher, any of them. I could pull any movie where it is strongly implied he would have killed somebody, whatever was going on. It's just PG, so they don't show it.
Batman was throwing people off of buildings, man.
If you think about it, Batman did kill Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight just to save Gordon's kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't kill him. He dropped him accidentally, right?
Accidentally, yeah.
That's what everyone said to me. Oh, he accidentally. Okay, so I had this argument, and it annoys me.
Zod, let me hook you to the edge of a cliff with a 240-pound weight, and we'll see if you can pull it up or not.
Exactly. Yes.
Also in The Dark Knight Rises, he's shooting at the truck that Talia's driving in, and it crashed, and she died.
Well, I'm not trying to disagree with you guys, but I think what the people that you're talking about are saying is that the code of Batman is something that has permeated the character for years, and a part of that code is he doesn't want to kill somebody.
Well, okay, now look, that you can say that he doesn't want to kill, but there has been necessitation. I mean, hell, in 80, I want to say 87 or 88, he locked the KG Beast underground and the man starved to death in the comics. And he knew that was going to happen.
I mean, even there's even
exactly,
a joke
Ferris,
about it.
Just want to say, Ferris, I know you've been in chat for a few minutes. Good to see you, buddy. And also, a familiar face I am familiar with, but not one I've had a whole lot of chance to talk with. Comic Chat. It's good to see you, bud. Appreciate you popping in. I do want to go back to the Penguin for just a few minutes because honestly, I think Farrell's performance as Cobblepot, there's a lot of layers to him because this Penguin is not one note by any stretch. Yeah. Honestly, I think this, at least for myself, this is the Penguin how I always envisioned him to be in a film. He's the mobster. He's the businessman. He's the mob enforcer. He's not a grotesque. He's not some sort of mutated freak with fins for hands and bloated as all hell. I like this version of the Penguin about a million times better than I'd like Danny DeVito. That's not
Did you ever watch the Gotham show?
I can't say that. No, I didn't have a chance to.
I did every season. That was my second favorite Penguin.
Okay, Robin Lord in Gotham played a really good Penguin too.
Yeah, he was really, really good.
But I have to say that Colin Farrell blows even him away. So,
well, they should have put that guy in a fat suit. Maybe that would have helped.
Oh, what, the guy in Gotham?
Yeah. He looks too thin, right? He looks too scrawny.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Penguin before, because Gotham, the premise is it's all of the people before they became who they are. So that's why he's got away with being so skinny. They show him, I think it's the last episode ever, they show him with, I guess it's a fat suit.
Yeah, he's a bit chubbier in that last
chubbier. He was all. No.
This version of the character, though, is a guy who is not really on his footing, right? He's kind of on a tightrope per se, right? He's under the thumb of Falcone. He's not fully confident, but he is this guy who is a glutton of power and influence, right? Really dynamic portrayal. I agree.
I heard somebody complaining about the Penguin's characterization earlier, like, and you know what the biggest thing they complained about in this movie about Penguin? Well, where's his umbrella?
Oh, you've got to be kidding me!
I thought it was the cigar thing that was a major complaint.
No.
They could have given him a cigar. I would agree there. Is it a problem? No. But they should have gave him a cigar. Why not?
Yeah, but people were like, but this reviewer was like, well, where's his umbrella? They're missing his umbrella.
Well, I would say to the guy, where's your fucking brain?
Right?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree because this isn't. Although I love the campiness of Burgess Meredith as a Penguin in the Batman show from back in the day, but this isn't that version of the character by any stretch of the imagination.
That's like asking, like, where's the Riddler's like true Riddler mask or like Riddler suit?
Well, this Penguin was physically intimidating too.
Yeah,
right? It was physically capable, which made him even more dynamic. Instead of a guy that could be, pushed over with just a simple push, right? This guy is a physically imposing dude. I did want to throw this out there too and see what everybody thinks. Best Batman car chase, without a doubt, in this movie.
Oh, hands down.
Hands down, this movie.
Oh, fantastic.
Though I do have a soft spot, and this is going to be a hot take. I know I do have a soft spot for the Batmobile chase scene in Batman and Robin. Driving up the side of buildings, man. Come on.
Okay, and I'm actually glad you said that because during the finale of the movie, or not the finale, but during the third act, when Bruce is getting ready when they're up on the roof, when they're up on that construction site, and he's getting ready to leave, and he attaches the rappelling rope to the girders, and he starts to run down the beam. Did anybody get a reverse version of what they used to do in the Batman show, or was it just me?
No, I got it too, man.
Okay, all right. Was it just me then? Well, it was
a funny thing. Real quick, is the Penguin seemed like he went from being afraid to actually enjoying the chase. Like he enjoyed the challenge of it.
Yeah, he got cocky like as the chase went on.
Yeah. Oh, he was enjoying it definitely, but like there were a few moments in that chase though where he looked visibly terrified.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those like tough guy things. Like, oh, you think you can take me, tough guy? You know, that's kind of how I felt. I
just want to throw this out there, and this is just a thing that I saw. I'm Italian, or at least half Italian, and like his portrayal of Penguin was almost like Jersey mob boss.
Oh my God, I'm from New York, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
I'm not even from New York, and I was thinking the same thing.
Jersey,
you know, South Jersey mobster style, like.
Yeah. Well, especially when he says, "Hey, calm down, sweetheart." And yeah, just perfect.
Yeah.
And I want to say hello to the chat. Mr. Marcus, is good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you being here this evening. And he has to say, Ambassador, this movie is better than the Dark Knight trilogy, Keaton Batman, Clooney, and Kilmer's movies. But Marcus, you follow up with a really, I can't agree with this comment because honestly, no, just no. But hey, dude, Marcus, you're entitled to your opinion. It is always good to see you. And I'll bring.
Yo, Marcus is actually a regular with us over the Poindexter Lounge. So I'm used to I'm used to his hot take.
I am.
Now, can I play devil's advocate here? I do want to say something. I think that it is unfair to Affleck because I wanted to see more of him, and I'll tell you why. Because if you watch BVS, I have the Ultimate Edition, as any self-deprecating DC fan does, and we swear it makes it better. It doesn't. But anyways. Okay, so I'm with you guys. I understand the pain. We wanted it to work.
I only saw the Ultimate Edition of that movie like 2 weeks ago when a friend of mine here on YouTube did a watch party on her channel of that. Like I watched the theatrical version of BVS, and then when I heard the Ultimate version was coming out, I was like, no, never mind. I don't want to do it. Like I'm not with it. Like it could stay over there.
It does make it palatable, but most people don't realize it doesn't fix bad writing. But I will say to Marcus's defense,
Zod, if you were sitting there and they brought you dailies of Eisenberg, would you have kept the guy?
Dude,
no, he is the worst fucking Lex Luthor imaginable. It's like someone said, do what you did in The Social Network times 20 and twitch a little bit. It was the worst
Twitch a little bit? Jesus Christ.
Big Mark Zuckerberg.
Maybe they gave him coke. I don't know.
Dude, I think he like went face first into a mountain of coke before he played that character. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Hey, I will say this. This is just
Ben Affleck wasn't a bad Batman. Like,
but he wasn't good.
I think he was better than the movie he was in. Like, I mean, his build, that scene when he was working out, his voice was very on point. And I think he had the Bruce Wayne.
I will defend you on that insofar as to say he was a good Dark Knight Returns style Batman.
Exactly. Like, I picture him like that in that mold, like a broken down, and you could tell that's what Zack Snyder was going for, the older Batman. And I think he fit that very well. He was just in a bad movie.
Not to derail the conversation off of Batman for very long, but we mentioned Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, which makes me twitch and react very badly. I think the best live action performance of Lex Luthor is Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville.
I think you and me are going to be best friends. Like, are you in my head? That's like my number one. Like, and then I think I have Kevin Spacey number 2.
I like Clancy Brown. I mean, and I know that's kind of
Yes.
a cop out.
Yeah, that's the voice actor, right?
Universe.
Yeah, that's the voice actor. But yeah,
Well, yeah, and look, he did well with the voice, but like live action versions of Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum did really good. And by the way, Tom Welling and Rosenbaum have almost got the finishing touches on the first of the Smallville animated series that they're doing.
Oh, cool.
Well, I think if they would have given Bryan Cranston a check, he could have done a fucking killer job.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He should have been the
But
Lex.
Zod, like you defending Affleck, I get where you're coming from. It's not like a horrific performance. To me, it was mediocre. And to me, it's also impossible with just the way that fans have been acting to unpair him from the Snyder directing and vision. Right.
Okay. Now
I mentioned the shadows in this movie and Batman coming out of the shadows, shadowing on the faces of the characters, just the general vibe. None of that is present with the Ben Affleck version. And to me, it looks plastic. When I see these CGI fight scenes of Batman flipping around, it doesn't do anything for me.
Now, I will say this, and I'm going to also, along with Zod, since we're both Kryptonians, and I will also play devil's advocate here for Affleck. And it's the same thing that I did for Pattinson earlier this week when people were telling me that his performance of the Batman is going to suck. If Affleck was given better material, he would have been killer.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
go ahead, Zod.
I agree because if you look at even his acting stuff, he did this phenomenal movie called The Way Home, which I will forever advocate. If anyone hasn't seen that movie, watch it immediately. It is fantastic. And yeah, there's a lot of Ben Affleck performances that are fantastic, but I feel like the guy only gets remembered for his terrible ones that people forget that he is actually a really good actor. You want to talk action? The Accountant is an amazing movie. So there's your physicality. I just think it was the story.
He's got the Tom Cruise problem, dude. It's impossible to see him as a character just because of his past work. You know, when you see Tom Cruise in a part, I'm watching Tom Cruise. I'm not watching whatever character name that they give him. They might as well just name all his characters Tom Cruise.
Well, yeah, but in that same vein, you could say the same thing about Pattinson. Pattinson's always been marked for the Twilight shit. But I
never saw him. Did you see him?
Even if you, yes, I've watched all of them because I have an ex-wife. But anyway,
okay.
I have a wife and I've watched all of them. I actually enjoyed it, but that's me. Anyway,
look, the movies, not so much. The novels, I read them because I wouldn't stop asking my wife questions and she threw the books at me, and I'm a reader. Never hand me a book. It doesn't matter to me. But the novels were so much better than those movies. Anyway, no, what I wanted to point to with Pattinson is one of his first performances that a lot of people can remember is in the Harry Potter movies. And though he was only in them for a short amount of time,
just
his portrayal of Cedric Diggory was phenomenally good. I mean, if you base his performance as Cedric Diggory based off of the character Cedric Diggory in those novels, he did really well. The kid can act. He just gets hit with some shit roles.
True. Because here's the thing. The thing with Robert Pattison is the thing that always hangs over him is going to be those Twilight days, and that's unfair to him because since then, if you see some of his independent films, he's really grown as an actor.
One of my favorite movies of his was a movie called Remember Me.
Yeah, and
Remember Me was a brilliant film. I saw that in the theater because I'm sure everybody knows by now, but I'm from New York, and I lost my aunt in that. So I saw everything that they've ever done with 9/11 because I like to make sure they don't mess it up or over dramatize stuff. But that movie, I don't cry very many films at all, even with my daughter, even emotional stuff. But that movie, and the way it all unfolds, and the way the ending is, because that movie does not give you a hint at what it is. It was brilliant, and his performance was absolutely magnificent. And this was coming right off of Twilight, I believe. Like literally after he was either at the middle of the end of the series, or he had just gotten done with them. It was a couple of years ago.
I want to speak really quick. I want to speak really quick to something Ferris Geek World says here in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was originally supposed to direct and star in this movie. And it does make me feel bad for him that the studio beat him down so much. But you also have to remember he was going through a lot of personal behind the scenes problems in his own life with the alcoholism and the relationship issues with his wife, well, now ex-wife. He was going through some stuff in his life at that point when he got involved with Snyder and everything else. So like a lot of that is reflected in his portrayal, I think. There's like almost a sadness to Affleck's portrayal of Batman.
Yes,
which
I agree.
And it goes
thing.
And that goes beyond beyond just the character he's playing, though. I think that he was really in a very bad place when he played Batman. I think if he wasn't in a bad place, we might have gotten a better performance as well.
He's been open about how like he enjoyed filming Batman versus Superman, but when it was when the filming for Justice League was miserable for him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he was having a rough time, I'm sure he channeled some of that to dial in certain aspects of the Batman character.
And he did it well, and he needed that pathos to play that version of Batman.
Well, I don't think he sucks. I just think it wasn't. It just was off. It just never connected with me.
It doesn't deserve the hype that it's gotten.
Well, I will say this. I've never, I don't dislike Affleck as Batman, but the thing for me is we never had that much time with him as the character. We had basically a movie and a half with the character.
We also didn't get hit. We didn't get a standalone movie with him.
No, we did.
He never fought any of his own villains, really, except for a blurb in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But he really, as a Batman, he really got slighted.
He did.
Yeah, we never really saw him get into that Dark Knight.
And that's the problem with ensemble movies.
Mm-hmm. Now, the thing I will say in terms of Pattinson's performance as Batman / Bruce Wayne, and Marcus, I do see your question. I will address it here in a little bit and everything, but right now we're on the Batman. We're not on Marvel, so no offense, bud. I do see your comment, Marcus. Just relax, calm your butt. I will address it.
He does this all the time, Marcus.
I did also want to bring something else up, and this goes back to something that Orange Hat. What? God, I always forget that dude's
Orange Hat Reviews.
Orange Hat Reviews said something earlier about he disliked the Martha Wayne storyline.
The Martha Wayne, yeah.
Now I want to add something there. That actually harkens back to an older graphic novel that was written. It was called. Hold on, let me see here. It was called Arkham Asylum: A Serious House on Serious Earth. It talked about the people, the Arkham family, and how they started Arkham Asylum and why, and how they were one of the founding families of Gotham. Now, originally, Martha Wayne was not an Arkham in the original comic book. She was a Kane. Mm-hmm. But it's been since like the 80s, since Crisis on Infinite Earths, they've changed her family's background where she was an Arkham, and the Arkham family has always had like psychological problems. And this isn't the first that people are treating this movie like it's the first thing to ever mention that Martha Wayne had problems, like mental problems. This isn't the first. If you look at Flashpoint, where Thomas Wayne became Batman instead of Bruce because Bruce died, Martha became the Joker. Mm-hmm. There's a precedent for her having psychological issues.
Yes,
and that's another thing I've heard complained about, that she was never psychologically damaged. Yes, she was.
Yeah, And honestly, I like as I said before you came in. Well, no, thank you were here. You've been here since the start of the thing. I actually like the inclusion of some background on the Wayne family and the Arkham family. We haven't discussed this yet, but I think this is a good moment to kind of bring this up, and that is, of course, the character of the Riddler. Paul, I think honestly, this is not Jim Carrey. This is obviously not Frank Gorshin. It is most certainly not the animated version of the Riddler. This is a Riddler that is far more menacing, far more psychologically balanced, and honestly, the fact that we opened this movie with his first attack, I think, really set the tone for the movie overall. And this is a Riddler that is damaged and is taking his anger, his pain, and his frustration out on Gotham and everybody that he feels has slighted and wronged him and everybody else in the city. And by the end of the movie, I have to say it, there is a true sense of menace with this version of the Riddler.
Oh, he's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
So,
and for a guy who has a background with horror movies, like I'm that's a lot of what my channel is going to be about, is horror and true crime and stuff like that. Like, I have like massive amounts of horror experience with horror movies, and this movie, very few horror. What I'm trying to say by saying that is, as very few horror movies actually scare me. This portrayal of the Riddler was actually somewhat terrifying to me. I could feel the menace. I could feel that unhinged nature. And that being said, the only other time I've ever seen Riddler portrayed somewhat like this was from, again, I'm going to bring up the show Gotham. The way they portrayed the Riddler in Gotham was not quite as psychotic, but close. And this was, Paul Dano did a good job with this, in my opinion. Now, the costume leaves a little bit to be desired, but they, like I said, they were basing it on Zodiac, so okay.
It's a good move. I think that's a good move. Well, Paul Dano is a tremendous actor. I mean, I knew he was the right guy for the job when they announced him, because I've seen him in a film called Prisoners with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Where he plays this creepy ass dude. Pretty similar character. Yeah, this version was creepy because you could see a guy like this existing in the real world. I mean, that's what made him a creepy fucking character.
He
you could
inspired
see
a movement.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was interesting too.
He was almost a cult leader, really. I got a lot of like a Manson vibe out of him in that aspect. Like, he inspired people to do things.
Because, like, even though he was killing all these people, he was also exposing all this corruption, all this, like, unethical behavior. And it was like he was speaking to a certain group of people in Gotham.
He was speaking to the downtrodden. He was speaking to those people who felt, singled out by the corruption. He felt, he could almost be, and then this is going to be a weird take, I guess, but he could almost not be seen as a villain. He could almost not be seen as a villain, even though he was.
No, he is. He manipulated those people because his answer is worse than the corruption. Far worse.
True.
Yeah.
So he's evil. I mean, he was manipulating people and led them down a totally fucked up path.
Well, I suppose that again goes back to the Manson, the Manson reference I made.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, I'm not terribly familiar with Paul Dano's resume as an actor or anything, but based on this role here, I have to agree with you, Zach, and also with you, George. This was the proper casting for this character. I will say this. Matthew Reeves is a director whose work I'm not super familiar with. I did see one of the rebooted films from the Planet of the Apes films or series, and I really did enjoy it. I never got a chance to finish the series, but I eventually will. But Reeves, I think he went after the cast that he wanted, and he got it. And I think honestly, he gave these people a lot to work with, and they just it's like taking a little tin toy that's got one of those little turnkeys on their back. He just wound them up and let them go, and they inhabited this world. They made it feel real, and particularly with Paul Dano. Because here's the thing: if Paul Dano, now you can make the argument also with Robert Pattison, but if Paul Dano doesn't work as a Riddler, this movie just absolutely crashes and burns.
Well, he's even better in Prisoners. Has anybody on the panel seen Prisoners?
I've seen Prisoners, but I will see your Prisoners and raise you 12 Years a Slave and There Will Be Blood. He was good in both of those.
There Will Be Blood. Yeah, he's good in that as the creepy priest
That's
guy.
Right. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I forgot he was in that.
He was also in 12 Years a Slave too.
Never seen that one.
Yeah, I've seen 12 Years a Slave. I can't, but it's been a while since I've seen it. I can't remember which character he was.
Is that the movie
Oh,
where you
boy,
have like
well,
all the presidents?
Is that the what? I'm sorry.
That's the butler? I guess that's the butler.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. He plays Brother Eli.
Yep.
How did I miss that? Damn. So, wow. Okay. Well, Zach, I know you've got to run here in a minute, so I'm going to let you have the floor for a few minutes before you have to dip out and everything. So, Zach, the floor is yours.
I don't need the floor. I'll let you guys take it from here. I appreciate it. And nice meeting you, Thade. Good to see you, George. Zod. Take it easy.
Good to meet you. I will let you guys. I will let you guys know when my channel is actually up and running.
Okay.
So that way you can get my channel and all of that. I did sub to you. I don't know if you noticed, but I did sub to you.
Appreciate it, man. I will sub to you. Look forward to seeing what you do, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
You
See
too.
you, Zach.
See you.
Have a good night, bud. So, and hey, everybody, I did put the link to Zach's channel in the chat earlier in the stream. Go over and check out his content. He doesn't do content on the regular, but as he says, and I agree with this, he does quality over quantity, and that's something I really appreciate. Appreciate and respect about Zach. So, if you have not checked out his channel, go do so. You will be entertained. You will be, I think, honestly informed, and he'll make you think, and that's not a bad thing. So, and I want to go ahead.
I'm going to give him a look after I get off this stream, between your stream and the next one I'm going to be on.
Okay. Sounds good. And I do want to briefly address Marcus's comments, because he's like, please notice my comments. And I did see in terms of the whole
good
thing,
old Marcus.
I do too. And Marcus, in terms of the whole rumor about the Super Skrull being the first villain for the Fantastic Four in the MCU, I don't particularly care about rumors. Marcus, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful to you, but dude, I don't deal in rumors. I deal in facts. I don't deal in speculation. I deal in facts. So once I hear an official once I hear an official report from an official trade, not some fly-by-night wannabe entertainment weekly website or channel, then that's what I'll go by. I'll go by the official trade magazines that actually have connections in the industry. So, anyhow, Marcus, I hope that answers your question. Anyway, back to the topic of the evening, the Batman.
I didn't get a chance to tell you guys about my take on Riddler. If you guys didn't know,
Zod, please, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I did not mean to cut you off. Zod, yes, your thoughts on the Riddler?
If you couldn't tell by the icon I chose, probably over Penguin, I would say, is my favorite character. And hot take, I am not a fan of Paul Dano at all. I don't like his acting style. I think he's very whiny. But I thought he was absolutely amazing in this movie. It did not feel like the same person. And I'm a huge fan. Like, one of my favorite movies since I was a kid was Seven. So
yes, good movie.
yeah, Seven and Zodiac. I love those movies. So when I saw this and I saw the style, I kind of knew I might be a little bit biased, and I loved it. Like even the ending, like just the switch, like I don't know, it was good range. Like, I liked him in the costume, and I know a lot of people had problems like at the very ending, but I liked it because it showed him like breaking. Like, clearly this man was on the edge. And I think by the time he turns himself in, he's completely broken. Like, he's lost it.
Oh yeah,
So
he's fucking gonzo.
yeah, like
because...
I think when he starts, he has it, but then like by that point, he's just gone.
Well, here's the thing. He was hoping that the Batman would connect with him, that he would understand him, he would make his life complete, he would make his world complete. And when the Batman's like, no, we are nothing like each other. I stand for something better than what you stand for. And he's like, we are not partners, we are not friends, we are nothing. And you see, he tries to self-insulate himself by going, well, I guess you weren't as smart as I thought you were. Dude, he figured out all your little tricks. The only thing he didn't figure out was the last one, because there was too many people in that little cramped ass apartment of yours. But you know what?
Well, I would say he wasn't, this Bruce Wayne wasn't smarter than Riddler. I think the Riddler did have him like a good majority of the movie. Even the last part, like, I give him credit, but see, that's also Matt Reeves understanding the character, because what is Riddler's downfall? His overconfidence. He sees himself above everybody.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, yeah, I agree. Like, it was just, I loved the character. I thought it was very well done. I love the Seven vibe.
I did
so
too.
Kudos.
Well, and here's the thing. Matthew Reeves is a very competent director. And, him and Craig Peters, who worked on the script for this film, they did a bang-up job. Honestly, they really did. I love, as I said at the start of this stream, from the moment this movie started, I was engaged. And I was just as engaged second time around as I was the first time. And, a buddy of mine, this is something we haven't talked about yet, my friend who's the Batman Uber fan, and hey, he's been a longtime friend of mine. We've known each other almost, oh Lord, over 10 years just about now. Or will be 10 years soon. He said something very poignant about the theme for the Batman. There's a deep sense of foreboding. And I was like, yeah, I can totally hear it. And, Michael Giacchino did a great job with the score for this film. And I have to admit, the way he wove certain elements of some of the other Batman themes from the other movies and series and so on was just, you could hear hints of Elfman throughout his score, but it was his score by and large, and I absolutely loved it. I did.
My favorite Batman score for me, and I love how he utilizes like that one song, like that, like in his music, like in a haunting way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it was like a combination of like eeriness and like epicness and like sadness, like combined into like one.
Yes, I agree.
And he's coming off nowhere.
We get a shout out that someone used Nirvana. Thank you. I grew up like primarily in the 90s. Nirvana was my band. Shout out Kurt Cobain. They used Something in the Way. I was so excited. It's like one of my favorite songs.
Well,
well, if you think about the song, what's being said in the song "Something in the Way," I know on the surface it's about him, it's about Kurt Cobain living under the bridge and everything and the things that he had to do. But if you like look at the context of what Kurt Cobain's actually saying in that song, it fits Bruce Wayne perfectly.
It does.
But it also fits the Riddler too. It's like, okay, for Bruce Wayne, it fits him because he's lost. He doesn't know what he wants to be. He doesn't have a path. With the Riddler, the song fits him because it shows his loss of his mind, the loss of his sanity, the loss of his stability. So that song kind of works for both the protagonist and the antagonist in this movie.
Yes.
Oh my God! You mean a director actually took their time to craft a story, and they made their songs actually go with what? Wow! Directors are supposed to do this.
What's messed up though, and this again, like I know I keep bringing up the negative, but like I've heard reviewers talk about in the last few days how it wasn't necessary for this Nirvana song in the movie. There was no need for it. Blah 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 blah. It took me out of the movie. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, dude. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how many people look at this movie and don't get what this movie's doing.
It fits the tone of the movie, and I love it when movies use trailer songs. Like this was like in the song for the DC Fandom trailer, and like the last time a movie really did that, use a song from a trailer in their movie was Thor Ragnarok, which is a completely different movie from this.
Yes.
Well, okay. I don't normally mention names, but like Ben Shapiro. Normally, I like listening to Shapiro.
Mm-hmm.
So do I. I know what you're talking about. That was a terrible review.
But his review sucked. Like he completely, like, for such an intelligent man, he totally did not get the point of this movie. He's like, I don't see why they're so afraid to use the Batman. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you talking about, Ben?
Like, this movie had like a lot of Batman in it. Like the most Batman. Like usually movies have more Bruce Wayne than Batman. This film had more Batman than Bruce Wayne.
This movie was the most Batman movie that you could ever Batman. Okay, like,
yeah, but here's the thing. What's the title of the movie itself? The Batman. It opens and closes on the same title card.
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, there was no, there was no opening score, there was no fanfare, there was nothing. There was a title card. We went straight into the movie, and then when the movie ended, or when the story ended, it was like, it's like Zach said, and I have to agree with him. This felt like you were reading a comic book because every shot felt like a panel in a comic book. Minus the frame around each panel. But
also another Batman comic book that I want to mention when in reference to this movie, and I know people are going to go, but that one's about the Joker. Bear with me on this. I see a lot of the Killing Joke in this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I'm here with that story.
Like the tone of the story, the Killing Joke, not necessarily that it involved the Joker and whatever. Okay, I got
the street. The way Gotham was a character in the Killing Joke is exactly how it is in this movie. I get it totally what you're saying. The city itself. I got
mobbed for saying that the other day on a panel. I was like, "What?" Like the tone, you jackasses, the tone.
Okay, this is what annoys me about reviewing. Like, and this is why I like coming on with the Ambassador, and I like doing stuff with Zach and stuff. People who don't get movies, and don't understand, like, there's more than just, okay, this is Batman. Okay, blah blah blah. Like, you've got to take into effect, like. And this took me years of doing this before I actually got it, is that lighting, camera direction, sound, positioning, everything is important, because that will greatly impact how you perceive something. And this movie is immaculately framed, shot. Like there were some fights where literally I don't think the camera moved at all. except for like maybe the first one because I'm thinking just because they didn't want the R rating, but he followed the fights like to their conclusions, like which shows me without quick cuts that they didn't chop things up. It means the people actually did their own stunts. There's a lot of things you can pull, and I think when people are reviewing, they're just doing like surface level stuff.
Well, see, I will always like when I review movies or when I like look objectively at movies. I am not, and especially being like on Point Extra Lounge and everything, which is a great channel. Those are some great people over there. They've taken me in, they've accepted me. I've only been around with them for like 3 weeks, and they already treat me like one of their own. So, shout out to them guys. But when I do a lot of reviews or when people ask my opinion of things, I have a very objective eye to certain things. I don't just take things for surface. I was raised by my father to look at both sides of every coin. Okay. Mm-hmm. And like, I can objectively look at something, even if I'm a screaming fangirl inside about it. Okay. I can objectively look at something and go, okay, well, this is where I've got some problems and this is where it's good. Okay. And I think any good reviewer worth their salt, and I say that with air quotes, any good reviewer with their salt has to be unbiased like that, regardless of whether they're fangirling for it or not. They have to have an unbiased opinion. And that's the problem with critics these days. There is no unbiased opinion.
Oh no, there is not.
I mean, what I've learned, like I'm the youngest one here. What I've learned when it comes to like film criticism, like the last few years, is like everyone's got their preference. Everyone's got their favorite versions of these characters. I feel like the bias when that certain like critics, like scoopers, whatever show. I feel like that like hurts the opinion, like how we take people seriously when it comes to looking at their opinions.
Well, first of all, let me just say this about scoopers. I've known a few of them. I talked to a few of them. And I'm not going to say I have a bad opinion of them as people. But what they do is kind of trash.
Well,
and even if I'm given a piece of a tasty treat that I could share with everybody, kind of like what you said earlier, Ambassador, unless I see it actually come out officially, I don't try to throw those tasty treats around unless I can trust the source. Now, and that's like if I hear it from an actor's mouth or if I hear it from, somebody in Hollywood's mouth or somebody in the production's mouth. Okay. Yeah. And even at that, I still wait. Okay. And I do have somewhat connections to some people. I'm not going to say I'm like, oh, I'm a major scooper or anything, because I'm not. But I hear things. I talk to people. It's part of what I've learned through this YouTube thing. People know people. But I will say this. Scoopers are a major problem with fandom right now.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing. Just to deviate for a minute or two, and then we'll get back to the review. When I started this channel 2 years ago, this was always to be primarily a review channel, review, discussion, and state. But also it was celebrate the same we call pop culture next. I do review movies primarily. I have done other things as well. I do newer movies, do older movies. I'm honestly going to be getting back into different aspects of pop culture because I've missed discussing things like that. I'm going to be doing here in a few months. It's going to be a few months down the road once I get my other projects up and running. I have made announcements about. I want to do a series on the evolution of gaming and its impact. When I say gaming, I mean video gaming. Right. And its impact upon the pop culture landscape. Because I think, for one thing, I am a gamer. I have been a gamer since I was a kid, and it's something that I have an interest in. It's something that I think will be a lot of fun to discuss. I mean, I've done reviews and streams talking about the major toy franchises of the 80s, and that's been a lot of fun. And I only missed doing stuff like that. So that's something you're going to be seeing more of here on my channel.
Oh,
And
I
yes,
do want
Marcus,
to mention.
go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Marcus, I already saw that comment, and I simply don't care. No offense, bud. I don't care. Anyhow, go ahead.
I do want to say, and this is again not trying to be a scooper here, but this has actually come out in a magazine. Then this kind of does add to our Batman discussion here. Pattinson has actually come out and said that he wants to try to get a role in the second part of the Dune movie that's coming out. The
I'd
Denis
be cool with
Villeneuve's
that.
Dune.
I heard that. I heard about that today.
And what he said, like, I had like the moment I read that article, I had this thought in my head because it never says he never says straight out who he would like to play. But like, if anybody knows anything about Dune, I think he would make a perfect Fade Ralpha.
I was thinking the same darn thing you just before you even said that.
I think he would be an amazing Fade Ralpha.
Even though the 80s movie is a pleasure for me, I'll be the first to admit it. And if you want to hear my thoughts on that particular movie, the reviews I did, stream for that is on my the 80s pop culture stream playlist. So, but switching back over to the Batman. This particular version of the Batman, obviously, we have not seen the character of Batman / Bruce Wayne at this stage in his career since Batman Begins, honestly. And that was Batman. That was Bruce literally starting up from the ground up. His persona as the Batman, starting his crusade to rid Gotham of organized crime. And here we have a much grittier, a much darker, and a much more, I will say, I'll use this identifier, cerebral. A much more cerebral Batman. But also at the same time, a very brutal Batman. I mean...
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Well, the thing I was going to say then, guys, I'll let you have the floor. The opening scene, or the opening fight with the Batman, when he goes after that gang of thugs in the subway station, and he absolutely just obliterates, absolutely is just throws down. Even when he gets hit, he does not stop. He is like a force of nature. The way he takes on that gang of thugs. He goes into the Joker's nightclub, or not the Joker, but the Penguin's nightclub. Sorry, I sometimes have that. My apologies. When he goes into the Penguin's nightclub, he absolutely is just... He is, again, like I said, a force of nature. He will not be stopped. He will not relent, and he will just use whatever means he has to use to achieve his objective. And that's something I really appreciate about this particular version of the Batman. So Thade, Zod, George.
I feel the same. And it was brought up to me by somebody on a panel the other day. It was actually on the lounge. One of the guys that was reviewing when we did our non-spoiler review of Batman was talking about how he didn't like the slow deliberation that Batman had. And I tried to explain that that's all intimidation factor. That's all like the heavy boot falls, the slow movement. Because he was like, what is it? It's just like when Batman does the thing at the first part, why didn't he just like launch into those guys and move fast? I'm like, no, you don't get it. He's trying to be the boogeyman. He's trying to be intimidating. He's trying to frighten these people. So the deliberate slow movement, the boot stomps, the footfalls, it's all part of the mystique of the Batman. It's all part of like his use of the shadows. It's all part of the Batman's the urban legend of the Batman. It's all part of that fear. He's trying to build on that fear.
And they use the signal as fear. Like you see, like but before he takes on the gang, like those other like criminals like around the city, as soon as they see the bat signal, they're like scared. So like
Yeah, and I
and
brought that
again,
up earlier, like how they're afraid of the shadows. They won't go into the dark
like he
because
says,
he's in the
like
dark.
like on vengeance. Like this is like essentially him putting fear into the film. And one of the things I love about the film, like by the end of the film, is like he goes from vengeance to being like the symbol of hope for Gotham when you actually see him like actually helping people, like getting people out of that like flooded wreckage. And like the scene at the end when like he's carrying the girl out and she's still holding his hand as she's being carried up, like you're seeing him essentially becoming like the Batman.
Yeah, well, one thing that struck me about that is he's grown already in just the course of this movie. He's grown morally. Like he realizes that vengeance is not entirely what he needs to be. He needs to be a guiding hand for the people of Gotham.
And I see like that's gonna play a role in his development as Bruce Wayne, because like earlier in the film, like the mayor elect like says like you can be doing more for the city, and like I think like as the films go on, you're gonna see Bruce Wayne take more of an active approach as well.
And that's something I want to. I hope the people in the back of the room are listening to what you just said. So many people I've heard complain about Pattinson's Bruce Wayne. Well, you got to understand, he's not Bruce Wayne yet. Like,
Yeah, like
Bruce
again,
Wayne at the start of this movie was a broken and fractured, hurt creature, and now he's learning. This is Batman learning how to Bruce Wayne. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and like you even like hear like Alfred like say like you're focusing so much on this like vigilante and you're gonna like lose yourself. Like this is essentially like him like giving into to Batman at the beginning of his career.
yeah,
Yeah, I liked the sort of I guess with his performance, one, I like the fact that we got a strictly Batman movie finally. And I like the exploring what trauma like this would be like because um you know I was in the service. I've lost people. You don't get over that right away. You just don't like even becoming this thing that he's becoming. You don't just like go, oh, well, now I'm beating the hell out of criminals. I am fine in my personal life. That's not how it would happen. So
well,
this isn't just him being helpful to the citizens of Gotham either. This is him working through issues as well as trying to protect people. And I think this movie captures that beautifully.
As a sufferer of PTSD myself, I kind of get I kind of get Bruce Wayne in this movie. Like I'm sure you'll admit, I'm sure you'll agree, Zod, that there's a bit of detachment when you have PTSD. It's like, was that right? Did I act right in that situation? And you find yourself questioning yourself a lot.
I 100% agree. Like, I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm still going through. To be honest, I'm going through it. Not as bad these days, but yeah. So yeah, just like you, I connected because my girlfriend looked at me and she was like, and I go, no, I understand. Like, this is a guy who's broken. Like, this is only 2 years into doing this. So my guess is he's using this to work out his issues as well, because he states it kind of in his journal when you're
like with me. I know for instance with me, like, and this is just a little snippet of my psyche. There's times where the anger and the frustration and all of it gets so big and you want to lash out at people. And you know that society won't accept you lashing out because it's wrong. Especially the way that some of us with PTSD are want to lash out. And I think that Bruce Wayne took that to heart and he created the Batman, or he became, he was the Batman because that allowed him an avenue for that anxiety, that anger, that frustration. And I think you can see it in the way that he just like utterly pounds the hell out of people in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Well, here's the thing about this particular Bruce, and then I do want to. There's a couple other characters I want to discuss or anything. I mean, we're gonna be going for a little bit yet, but with Bruce, he is obviously working through his own personal trauma from the death of his parents. And he even lashes out at Alfred. And I have to say, in regards to that, Andy Serkis, him and Matt Reeves have connection back to the Apes films where Serkis did the mocap work and the voice work for Caesar.
For Caesar.
Yeah. Andy Serkis is Alfred. He is a very good Alfred. Granted, he doesn't have very many scenes in this film. I think he has maybe 3 or 4 scenes in total throughout the entire film. But he brings a lot. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure as we go along with this Batverse, which is what I'm choosing to call it, the Matt Reeves Batverse. Mm-hmm. If we continue deeper into this, I think that Alfred's going to become more of Bruce's conscience. I think you're going to see him a whole lot more. And I have to say, Andy Serkis did a phenomenal job, even in the little bit of this movie he was in. And it kind of harkens back. And again, for the 3rd time or 4th time or 5th time, no, pardon me. Sorry about that, guys. For the 3rd or 4th or 5th millionth time I brought up the show Gotham. The Alfred we're getting in this movie, and he kind of implies it to Bruce. This is the secret agent MI6. This is the secret agent, military trained Alfred we're getting in this movie.
Yes. And
I have always preferred that depiction of Alfred rather than the I'm just a butler, blah 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 version of Alfred.
Yes.
Because in the comics, he was always, he was a British secret agent. But his family was connected to the Waynes because they had been for generations, And this Alfred is the Alfred that started training Bruce, that taught him some of the things that he uses, the tactics he uses.
Exactly.
Alfred is the reason why why Batman is so tactical, why he's so analytical. That, part of that is the Wayne family intelligence. I will give it that, because the Wayne family are full of a bunch of very intelligent, very broken people. Yes. But a lot of what you see Batman doing, this came from Alfred.
That's true.
And I think that's going to be brought up more and more as we go along with this series.
I agree. Well, the thing I wanted to remark upon is it's in the aftermath of the Riddler's first killing, and that is, of course, the mayor. And I love how they framed the shots where it's almost like it's from the point of view of Batman when he's walking down the corridor in the hallway into the living room, and you don't see him, but you see what he would see.
Right.
And they do the same thing a few other times throughout the film where it's from the Batman's point of view. And you almost are like, okay, I want to be able to see, I want to try and look at this from the way that I think the Batman would look at everything around him. And it's honestly, as we've said, this is a true detective story. And I really appreciate that because, again, I love a movie that makes me think.
Well, this movie will certainly make you do that.
Oh, yeah. It felt very much like an Alfred Hitchcock movie to me, and I very appreciated that.
I got a Hitchcockian vibe from it myself, George. You're not the only one there on that. The other thing I will remark upon is I'm trying to remember who directed 7. I think it was David Fincher, maybe.
Yeah, Fincher.
Yeah,
he did 7. Okay. I almost got a bit of a Fincher vibe from this film, especially when they're in the old burned out remains of Wayne Manor that had been turned into a Wayne Mansion when it was turned into an orphanage, and now it's just a rundown heap. And you're like, there's a, this Wayne Manor has always been regarded as a very safe place, a very good
serious
environment.
house on serious earth.
Yeah, but in this instance, it's a broken down Hulk.
Yep.
And you almost feel bad for it because so many generations of the Wayne family had grown up there in that home, and it was a sign or a symbol of their hard work and their, to a degree, their, what's the word I'm looking for here? Their prestige.
Okay, now I wanted to bring up something, and this goes back to what we were talking about, how Batman is fear in Gotham.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
There's a quote from the older Batman comics, and it's been reiterated many different times and said many different ways. But the simple quote is, "Criminals are a superstitious and cowardly lot, so my disguise must be able to strike terror into their hearts. I must be a creature of the night, black, terrible." And then as he's saying that in this comic, a bat flies through the window of Wayne Manor, the open window. And he gets the idea, let's use the bat as a avatar of that fear. And I don't think people focus on that so much. I think what we've gotten away with in other Batman interpretations is we've gone to the superhero of Batman. And to be honest, and I know this is probably going to be a hot take, and if it is, I do apologize, but Batman was never meant to be a quote-unquote superhero.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. He was... Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Batman was always meant to be fear. He was always meant to be intimidation. Now, like, that evolved over time, and a lot of people, like he became hope for Gotham in a lot of ways, and that's kind of a thing about Gotham, and that's the difference in Gotham and Batman versus Metropolis and Superman. Metropolis is a very, very futuristic looking, beautiful city, and they have this godlike protector. Okay. And then you have Gotham, which is run down, depressed, corrupt. And then you have the Batman. See, each one of these cities has the protector that I almost want to say like they uniform to their cities, if you catch what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's like here you have Batman in Gotham, and it was said in I believe it was The Dark Knight, I am the hero that Gotham deserves, but not the hero they need right now.
Yes. Because
I think with the Justice League movies, they got away with that, or rather the Snyder movies. And again, I am not against the Snyder movies. I've liked aspects of all of them. But I think they've tried over the years to go way too superhero and glam. I guess I'll use the word glam, even though it really doesn't fit here. But it kind of alludes to what I'm trying to say. They've gone like glam with Batman, and that's not what Batman is, nor has he ever been.
Well, no, and Zod and George, I want to get your, and Thade, you too. I want to get your thoughts on this because this is an aspect of the film we really haven't discussed yet, and that is, of course, Catwoman, Selena Kyle, Zoe Kravitz. What were your thoughts on her performance?
I'm gonna let somebody else start instead of me.
I loved her performance.
I'm gonna say, Zoe Kravitz was good for this Catwoman. This might be a bit of a hot take, but my favorite is actually Anne Hathaway. I know that's like really an unusual one that never comes up. I don't know why.
I liked, just real quick, I did like Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. I did.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. She captured for me like not only her chemistry with Christian Bale, but also like the way she was sassy, the way she talked about the rich and all of that stuff worked better. I'd say that Zoe had the attitude. But my biggest problem, and I think that this is BS that all of these critics are saying, I'm sorry, her and Pattinson had no chemistry. And by no chemistry, I don't mean they didn't vibe off each other good. I mean, sexually, there was no chemistry. I don't care what anybody says. I did not feel it. I did not get it. I got more of like a friend vibe from those two, no matter how much
Honestly,
like.
no, Zod, I honestly agree with you. I do. Because
Oh, thank goodness, because everybody's
because
saying they have this crazy vibe, and I'm like, no, they don't. Like, they feel like a friend.
I'm also going to add to that by saying it was more of a brother sister vibe to me.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like,
well,
and that's
except
not
for the one
necessarily
kiss.
bad.
Like, sure. Except for the one kiss, but sure, we'll let that one kiss pass.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Luke Skywalker kissed his sister. That's all I'm saying.
I know. Get away with that.
Anyway, Zod, go ahead, buddy, or George.
But yeah, that was my whole thing. I just hate how people hyped up this chemistry, and I was watching, and I think there is potential for like maybe if they develop it a little bit more. Like, I think they need, I don't know, they need another movie, really. But
well, go ahead,
yeah,
Zod.
that was just my. Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, everything else worked for me. Like her attitude, the way she delivered her lines, the fighting, especially the fighting, I thought she fought phenomenally. It was just that chemistry didn't work for me. And that's really my only issue with her character.
George, your thoughts?
I loved her performance. Now, my favorite Catwoman is still Michelle Pfeiffer's version, but I also do like Anne Hathaway's version a lot.
Yeah.
I think every version of Catwoman has had like a very unique take. And the thing that I appreciate about this Catwoman is she's more anti-hero in this film than antagonist.
Yes, I'd agree.
Like where like Michelle Pfeiffer's was more antagonist, and like Anne Hathaway's, like the first half of The Dark Knight Rises, she was an antagonist, and then like the second half,
sold him out so many times in that movie.
yeah.
Anyway,
And then like the second half, then she was like anti-hero. In this film, she's more anti-hero than villain, and like you understand her motivations very very clearly, like how she cares about this like one girl, and like when like she loses this one girl, like how like she goes down this dark path that Batman's trying to prevent her from going down. And I really loved her performance. Like, she's a close second to Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer's still my favorite, but Credits is like a close second for me.
I can respect that. Well, the thing for me is I have been, ever since I saw her in X-Men First Class, I've tried to keep an eye on Zoe Kravitz's career as an actress, and I
love that character she played. I loved Angel Salvatore.
Yeah, as did I.
Amazing character. Anyway, go ahead.
What I appreciated about Kravitz's performance as Catwoman or Selena Kyle, whichever you prefer to call her, there's a lot of layers to her, and there's complexity, and that's something that I appreciate in the characters that I see in movies. I want there to be, I don't want them to be just one note. I mean, obviously she is a very independent woman. She's a very capable woman. One of the things I will remark upon is how she moves in this film. It's very feline-esque in how she moves. Almost like she's channeling some sort of feline-esque energy into how she's portraying. Granted, they never call her Catwoman outright. They just refer to her as Selena, or Selena Kyle, when she finally confronts her father, Salvatore, or Falcone, excuse me. And I have to admit, I did like that aspect. I did like them adding that aspect into her character, that she is Falcone's daughter. And I think one of the best scenes is when she's up on the roof with her up on the in the building with Bruce, and when Bruce presses her, and she's like, "I don't have a relationship with him. He's my father." You see the rage. You almost can feel it because she feels resentment. She feels that she has been wronged, and in a lot of ways, she has been. She's been wronged by her father. She's been wronged by the city. She's been wronged by everyone that she's been close to. And she's going to do anything and everything she can to try and make things right with this young woman and everything that she had befriended. And I will say this. While she didn't have any sexual chemistry with Bruce, there is an aura of sexuality to her character. But it's not overt. It's very subtle, and I do appreciate that. And so often anymore. Okay, Zod, I understand, buddy. So let me just get this out, and then I'm gonna let you have the final word before you have to go. So the thing I will remark upon is a lot of times the Catwoman character has been over sexualized. In particular, obviously with the Halle Berry film. But they got away from that with Anne Hathaway's character, and I think also now with Zoe Kravitz's turn on the as Catwoman. And I said this to my buddy, and I said to my ambassador as well when I got home from seeing it and everything. I think this is a Catwoman that could carry her own movie, or even potentially, if not a movie, then definitely an online series. So, but anyway, with that, Zod, I'm gonna let you have your final word before you have to go. So, Zod, the floor is yours, bud.
First off, thank you for letting me come on this panel.
Hey, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for letting me come on this panel. Everybody here was pretty cool. And I really had a great time. And I'll be doing a review probably like later on. I just have to go because I have to switch guards because I'm at work. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. And as I said it before, I enjoy doing reviews for you. I'm glad to talk about the aspects of the movie as opposed to the way some reviews have gone. So it's cool to have a nice balanced panel. So I appreciate it, and I wish you guys all a good night.
Zod, you too.
Man.
Take care, Zod.
You're always welcome, bud. Right. You know that. You have a good night. Be safe.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Now, may I go ahead and give my thoughts on Zoe Kravitz?
George, go ahead. By all means, please.
Okay. So, I just want to preface what I'm about to say with I'm going to describe, in my opinion, what I liked, what I didn't like about her performance, and then I'm going to follow it up with something that may not be as great of an issue. It's been really, really divisive, but I feel it needs to be mentioned. Okay, so Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, loved it. She had like you said, Ambassador, she had the slinkiness down. She moved like a cat. Her attitude was good. Her connection to Falcone was different, but I didn't dislike it. All in all, I think she did a really good job. A couple of problems I have with her, though, is I don't know if this is so much her performance, but I don't know if this is so much her performance, but she isn't my favorite Catwoman. And two, I think that they tried to use her There's one line that she says that I'm really not fond of. And it's the same one a lot of people are not fond of. And that has nothing to do with like I'm trying to push an agenda or anything. It just it kind of cringe. It caused me to cringe. And that's her white privilege comment that she made. It didn't take me out of the movie. It didn't change the movie for me. I am not pissed off about it. It just kind of made me cringe a little bit because have to admit, we get to hear that a whole lot here these days. And I don't feel like it needed to be brought into a Batman movie. Now, that being said, everybody talked about their favorite Batman their favorite version of Selina Kyle. My favorite version of Selina Kyle is actually one that not a whole lot of people mention, and that's Cameron Bykondova. She's the girl who played her in the show Gotham. I liked her performance. I liked her version of Catwoman. Beyond that, now this is where I go into hot take territory. I think everybody who has a problem with Catwoman and also Jim Gordon being people of color, I think you all need to shut the hell up. And why I say that is, for example, with Catwoman, Batman Year 1 and Year 2 in the comics, she was, what's the word? She was mixed race. Okay. I have never, and of course, the great Eartha Kitt played her back in the Adam West Batman. I have never had a problem with Selina being a person of color. All the people that do, grow up, stop being children. Secondly, with Jim Gordon, a person that I could mention her name, but I won't. She's another YouTuber. Mentioned this about Jim Gordon. We have had so many different versions of Jim Gordon over the years in the comics, in the live actions, in the animation. As long as Jim Gordon fights for Gotham and is a good man, I don't give a damn if he's a person of color. So on those two things, and that Jeffrey Wright did a phenomenal job. Okay, Jeffrey Wright did a phenomenal job.
I agree.
So all of the dissenters out there, and I don't know if we've got any watching, but you never know. All of the dissenters out there, and to those geeks and gamers idiots, grow up. Grow the fuck up and enjoy this movie for what it is.
Oh my goodness. Yo, Ryan Kinnell's
Stop. Well, even Gary from Nerdrotic, man. Jesus fucking Christ, you two need to shut the fuck up and grow up, okay? I loved both of their performances were fucking spot on. It boggles my imagination. And I say this because I used to be this bad, okay? I've grown up since then, because I've told you before, Ambassador, I was a fan of Minister.
Yeah, that's what I for a little bit.
Same here.
It boggles my imagination why a race swapped character bothers people, unless a character's race is integral to his character, like Black Panther, for instance. Mm-hmm. What the fuck does it matter? As long as they play the character and they don't change the character based on the ethnicity of the person playing them, by all means, I don't care. Like I've heard rumors that the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, they want to go with other than just all white people in that movie. I'm good with it.
Okay.
As long as they fit the characterization, sure, by all means.
Well, they did with the dreadful Fan Four Stick film a few years ago. You had Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, and the only thing I will say about Johnny and Sue Storm is, since they are supposed to be biological siblings, I would hope that both of the characters of Johnny and Sue would have the same ethnicity. Yeah, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I don't care what ethnicity you make them. Make them whatever. I don't care, as long as it works. Yeah, I agree.
As long as Reed Richards is the smartest man in the room, as long as Johnny is a hothead, as long as Ben Grimm is the heart of the family, and as long as Sue is the glue.
Yeah.
Whatever ethnicity, I don't care. I don't care. And all of these people that have this problem with race swapping, go to hell.
Yeah,
I am so tired of hearing that take. I'm so tired of it.
I'm glad
George,
you
go
brought
ahead,
the
bud.
Jeffrey Wright thing because Jeffrey Wright, he's tied with Gary Oldman as my favorite Gordon right now. I always loved Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon.
We found a picture of Jeffrey Wright and Gary Oldman back in the day, together.
Yeah, I saw that, and Jeffrey Wright's a fantastic actor.
He is.
So they got a fantastic actor to play him regardless of his skin color. I love the chemistry between Wright and Pattinson in this film, the partnership that they go through.
Oh God,
and,
yes.
When I hear it, idiots like Kindle, basically talking about it, certain characters were this and that. It's that don't matter. Their race don't matter. If you're a moral person, regardless of your skin color or race or religion, that's a good thing.
You know,
well, also, and I feel you just have to bring. I just have to bring this up. Jeffrey Wright is playing the voice of the Watcher in the What If series over at Marvel.
Yep.
Yes.
And he does a phenomenal job there too.
Yes.
And I know with Zoe Kravitz, like I said, it's the same thing. She's my second favorite Catwoman now after Michelle Pfeiffer. She did a fantastic job. So
Yes.
these people who are complaining about the race changes, it's that doesn't matter as long as you give a great performance.
Well, here's the thing from me. I think aside from Thade, I'm the second oldest person on the panel right now. I have seen characters evolve throughout my lifetime from one degree to another, whether it's the actor who's played them, how they're written, how they're portrayed, the world that they exist in, everything across the board. Do I particularly care that Jim Gordon is a person of color? No. Do I particularly care that Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, is a person of color? No, because here's the thing. There's a precedent for it. Not that precedent particularly matters in terms of Selena Kyle, but the precedent does exist. Eartha Kitt played Catwoman back in the day. Now, granted, it was on the Adam West show, but still, the precedent exists. For the first time, we have a person of color playing Jim Gordon. But is an actor that everybody regards as a solid, well-rounded, charismatic, and talented actor in the terms of Jeffrey Wright. And I honestly, when they announced the casting for this film, I was like, you've sold me. As I said at the start of the stream this evening, I didn't go into this movie for so much a Batman story. I went into it to see what these actors were going to do with the roles that they were playing more than anything. Now, did it just happen to be a Batman movie? Sure. But the cast was what was appealing to me. The director was what was appealing to me. The fact that this is a DC movie doesn't even register as far as I'm concerned. In full transparency here and now, folks, this will probably be the only DC movie I review this on the channel this year, unless I decide to do a review for Aquaman. I'm not going to go see The Flash. I'm probably not even going to go see Black Adam. I'll probably catch it when it comes down onto HBO Max.
Well, the reason why I'm not really interested in Black Adam has nothing to do with the character. No. There's two. I'm of two minds on Black Adam. One, why I really would like to see Black Adam is because they're going to have the Justice Society in the movie, and I love those characters. Yeah. So that's a plus for me. But on the negative, I'm really not a Rock fan, and he's all over this fucking movie. And I hope it's not just The Rock playing The Rock. Now, will I see it? I'll wait for HBO Max.
Same
now, I do intend on going and seeing Flash, but that's because of other obligations that I won't mention at this point.
Hey, no worries.
Really, for me, the driving force of seeing Flash is to see Keaton on the big screen because I love
Yeah.
Michael Keaton Batman, and that was before my time. So I just want to at least see him on the big screen at least once in my life as Batman.
Fair enough.
And just to actually come around to that too is Keaton coming back as Batman. He's going to be in the Flash, and of course, he's also going to be in Batgirl. And again, to those geeks and gamers idiots, suck it. I like the look of the Batgirl movie. I like the idea that Brendan Fraser's coming back as Firefly.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
I
Batman Batgirl, but
agree.
it's an HBO Max movie, so it's kind of disappointing it's not going to be in theaters because I actually think Leslie Grace will do a very good job.
Well, the thing about, and this is something we talked about on the lounge the other night. The thing about movies more coming out on streaming services here soon is it's, to be frank, the studios are making more money on streaming services. Theaters, within the next 5 to 10 years, theaters are going to go the way of the dodo. And that's unfortunate. I hate that idea because I remember when I was a teenager going to the theaters on Friday nights and just like hanging out with my friends and seeing movies and just kind of in general, but that comes from living in a small town growing up. But like, you have to understand the theater is on the decline. And why I say that is, the production companies only make so much from theater showings.
That's true.
And they're making way more money off of streaming services. And also, in my opinion, I hate to say it, but like for what I can go to a theater and spend money on a movie, I can do a streaming service for the month and watch whatever I want to watch.
That's true.
And that is
That's
a plus.
very true. Yeah.
Now, that does rob you of the cinema experience. And again, I will say I'm going to miss that. Mm-hmm. But over the last couple of years, especially with the pandemic, I've not really been to the theater except for I went and saw this, and I went and saw Halloween Kills last year, and I went and saw Dune. And those are the only movies I've seen in the theater in 3 years.
Here's the thing for me. Am I sad that one day theaters will no longer be a thing? Yeah, I definitely will be. I will be very sad when that happens because the cinema, the theater experience has been a part of my life since I was a kid. I have some of my most fondest childhood memories and some bittersweet memories as well, and everything from going to the theater with family and friends.
I saw Empire Strikes Back in a drive-through movie theater with my parents in a convertible.
I hate you. I hate the fact that you're older than me. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. But not really. but
hey, man, just look at it this way. Just look at it this way. I'm going to break down quicker than you. So it's kind of a 50-50.
Tell my back and knees that. Then we can
talk
about it. But here's the thing. In terms of what I was saying just a minute ago, most everybody who follows me on social media is a subscriber to the channel knows this. I'm primarily a Marvel guy. Have been a Marvel guy. Been a Marvel guy.
I've been on a lot of Marvel streams with you.
Yeah, you have, George, and you've always had some great. We've always had a great time. I always love having you as a panelist. You, just like Zach and like Fade and everything. Like I told Zach a few weeks ago, he put it in his little name bar, ironically, but I said it to him, and I say it to you both here. He put Ambassador Leary next to his name. As far as I'm concerned, you both have earned that.
Oh,
I might be the ambassador, but this is the ambassadorial wing, and you all come in here. You give your thoughts. You're always respectful. You're always funny. You're always insightful. And that's what I have always wanted this to be about. It's not about me. It's not about my ego. It's not about me building myself up. Do I want to see my channel grow? Everybody does. I'm 15 subscribers away from 500.
Ooh.
And you know what? I appreciate every single person who is here every week.
You know what blows my mind? I don't even have a video one on my channel, and I've already got like almost 30 subscribers. It's like
Oh
it's
wow.
wild.
So, but I fire up a stream, people come in, and we have a good time here. And like I said, it's not about my ego. It's not about me building myself up. It's about having a good time. It's about being ourselves, not being fake, not being phony, not trying to pretending to be something that we're not. And Thade, George, you've earned that right. You've earned putting that title next to your name.
Thank you.
You both are ambassadors.
Thank you.
And I will say this to you in the reckoning of Midworld from Stephen King's writings in the Dark Tower. Thank you, Sai. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. But anyway, putting that all aside, we'll go for a few more minutes and everything discussing this, and then we'll wrap up everything. I've kind of covered the points I wanted to talk about in terms of the Batman. I know the floor has been open off and on all night and everything. I know I've had my few minutes where I've kind of given my talking points. George, what's something that you all want to hit upon in terms of the Batman that we have not discussed, or maybe you want to cover a little bit more in depth?
I do want to talk about how much John Turturro surprised me, because he's a great actor, don't get me wrong, and I've seen him in like his older movies like Do the Right Thing and Anger Management. But for like people who like are around my age, who are like 25, early 20s, like a lot of those people would only associate him as playing the goofy Sector 7 character in the Transformer films.
Yes.
So like for people like, because even though I've seen his other work, for people who are around my age or younger that haven't seen his other work, they're probably wondering, this guy's in a Batman movie? He was incredible in this movie. Like Falcone really established himself in this movie.
Yeah.
It's just sad that he died.
It is.
Also, they kind of set up like who could possibly next. Like they mentioned the name Sal Maroni, like
right.
in
Salvatore
the film.
Maroni.
And yeah, my concern with that is because you don't want to be too similar to the Dark Knight trilogy. Because remember, Falcone was in Batman Begins. Dark Knight, you had Maroni.
Right.
So like you don't want to like do too much similarities, because you already got some people who are saying, well, this is like realistic, like Nolan's like take. So like you want to like try to make sure you're doing things your own way. Like if you have Maroni in the next film, that's fine, but make sure you do things differently like you did with Falcone.
All right. So were you done, George? I'm sorry. I just ran over.
I'm done.
I apologize. Okay, so like Turturro, for example. Like I said, I'm used to him playing the kind of zany, kind of like, I don't know, just really eccentric characters. But this one, I was impressed by him in this one. And it kind of harkens back to the movie Secret Window with Johnny Depp, the character he played in that movie. But this Falcone was actually menacing, and I appreciated him. I'm looking forward to Boss Maroni, simply because that's going to bring in Harvey Dent, and Two-Face is one of my favorite characters. And of course, you can't have Maroni without intertwining Dent with Maroni. It's a thing. Now, other things that I can say, I loved how the Penguin was like the comic relief for the movie, but not in like a cringy way. He was like raunchy.
Yes.
He was almost a dirty old man, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit. I will agree.
I can see that building, especially with his character, with him getting the Batman, the Penguin TV show that he's going to get on HBO Max.
Yes, and I definitely will.
I look forward to him building, to Colin Farrell building this character in that show. It's going to be amazing. Gee, what else can I say?
Well,
Just in general, this movie was good. If they had cut like 20 minutes of the film, I think I'd have been okay. I think mostly what I'm cutting, what dropped my, well, it's kind of a double-edged sword with me, because normally I don't have a problem with long movies. I sat through all 4 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League,
likewise.
and I loved it. I don't care how much people don't like the Snyder Bros. I'm a Snyder fan.
Likewise.
Now that doesn't preclude anything else, though. I'm not like the Snyder cultist. I'm not, unless it's Zach, it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm not like that. I enjoyed this movie. I'm looking forward to enjoying the other stuff that DC's got to show us. I'm looking forward to all of it, and I hope when Zaslav comes in, they do some stuff. I hope that they clean things up over there at Warner. I hope the merger means good things instead of bad things. I have hope. Let's just say that, and some other things that I've heard from that line of things. I think a lot of people need to close their mouths and stop complaining, because if you just shut up and sit back in the weeds a minute and pay attention to what's going on, you guys might actually get what you want, and that's all I'm going to say on that. I could see, especially since we're working on a multiverse idea in both Marvel and DC, I could see if the Snyderverse does continue, I could see both things happening. I can see multiple storylines. And Will on Poindexter's Lounge made a good point the other night. Why don't you, DC has always had the multiverse in the comics. It was always been Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, whatever. Why don't you just mark each one of these timelines as a different Earth? Say, give the Matt Reeves Batman designation Earth 4. If the Snyder stuff comes back, make that Prime Earth. There's so much that they could do with it. And Will was talking about how they could do little like symbols to signify each one of these movies fitting into a certain timeline or a multiversal line. And I would agree to that. I think that would be a great idea. But I think too many people are getting angry for the wrong reasons, and they need to stop. Like, chill. Give this merger some time. Let's see what shakes out. Let's see what Zaslav does. Let's see who ends up being out at Warner, like Sarnoff and Hamada, for instance. And let's just be patient. Let's see what comes. And that's a problem with fandom these days. And I'm going to say it on all levels of fandom, not just the Batman. You need to have a wait and see attitude.
Well, that's the stance I've long held. That's the stance I will continue to hold. Is I prefer to be more pragmatic. I had my issues with the sequel trilogy. I'm rectifying it on my own. I didn't like the story they were telling. I'm writing my own. And
that's the thing. And that's the thing. Okay, like you and I have talked about it, Ambassador. We had that long conversation the other night. If you don't have to love everything.
No.
If something doesn't work for you, let it go.
Yeah. Well, the thing for me, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I am by and large a hardcore Marvel fan, and I have been very happy with phases 1 through 3, and now the start of 4 of the MCU. I am actually happy with the direction, the stories that we're going to be getting going forward, because it's delving into the aspects of the Marvel universe, not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the Marvel universe that always intrigued me. That's the cosmic element. That is the mutant element. That is the multiversal element. That is the time
Phase
travel.
5. I'm so looking forward to Phase 5 because Midnight Suns, my dude. Midnight Suns.
No, I hear you.
Fucking Blade. Oh my God. Ghost Rider.
Yeah. So for me, as I said, I loved phases 1 through 3. We actually have the story of Marvel Studios book, the big one, the 2-volume one in the big heavy sleeve. We got that. So that just tells you how much me and Ambassador love Marvel. But will I give DC a chance? Of course I will, because there is stuff there that I do enjoy that I will watch, that I'll even discuss and review on my channel. And there'll be times that I'll just watch something just for the enjoyment of watching it. I won't even bother reviewing it. And if you don't hear me speaking on it much, don't automatically assume that I hate it, because I don't hate DC. I like DC to a degree, but the characters aren't, at least to my perspective, as rich and as interesting as the characters that populate the Marvel universe.
Well, see, the difference in Marvel and DC, and this is coming from being a fan of both, okay, especially the comics.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC, the big differences in those are where Marvel is grounded a lot of the time, even though with the cosmic aspect and everything, even the cosmic aspect of Marvel is grounded, okay?
Yeah.
In DC, what you've got with heroes is you've got gods amongst man.
Yes.
And I am not opposed to that. Like I said, growing up, I was a big Superman fan, and he's one of the godliest of gods in DC.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I prefer and I appreciate the groundedness of Marvel. I always have, and I even appreciate in the MCU the little jokes and the little, like, one of the biggest things I hear people complaining about with the MCU the most is the moments of humor. I appreciate the humor. Right. It's great. Like, one of my favorite lines is in the movie Avengers, and I have to preface this by talking about my dear departed father.
Mm-hmm.
When we watched the Avengers together, when we got it on DVD at the house, my dad didn't see it in the theater. I did, but I got him the DVD because he loved the Marvel movies. And his favorite part, and he backed it up and rewatched this same part like 20 times the first time he saw it, laughing like a jackal, was the part where Hulk takes Loki and smashes him and then throws him down and goes, "Puny God."
Puny God.
And walks off. My dad loved that scene, and I love the moments of humor in Marvel. Not everything has to be this dark, drab bullshit, man.
True.
And I say bullshit just to frame things. I'm not saying that the dark drab is bad. I'm just like, not everything has to be this grim, gritty shit that people want. Like, I get it. The world is not a cool place, but sometimes moments of levity are good. And that's why I so much appreciated the Penguin in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The moments of levity, even though it was dirty humor, it was raunchy humor, I loved it. Because this movie cudgeled you over the head. And I think this is another one of my negatives about the movie. This movie cudgeled you over the head with the dark, brooding atmosphere. Now, admittedly, it had to, because that's the story they're telling. Okay.
Yes.
But there's like moments where you're going, okay, it's a bit much. Can we not? Like my buddy Enosh at Poindexter Lounge, he said, man, I would have preferred a little bit of lightening up, certainly, like it's great. All the night scenes are wonderful and everything, but can we get a little bit more daylight? Like,
yeah. Well, I'm gonna let George have the last word and everything, because we are going to wrap up here in a few minutes. So, George, I'm going to let you have the last word on this, and then we're going to call it a night. So, George, the floor is yours.
I feel like, as like not just like a DC fan, but as a Marvel fan, like, I appreciate the fact that back to back I got two fantastic comic book movies with my two favorite characters in Spider-Man and Batman. Two fantastic scores by the same guy, Michael Giacchino, and two like radically fantastic takes on these characters. Obviously, like Ambassador, I was with you when you reviewed No Way Home, and like I very appreciated how like the changes they made with like the Spider-Man lore in that, and here I appreciate the changes they made with the Batman lore in this film. And I think it's a shame that we have all this like bickering between Marvel versus DC, bickering over this is not my version of Batman or the Batman movie that I wanted. I said in my review earlier today, like, go see this movie. Like, don't believe what people say. Like, make your own opinion and check it out for yourselves. You might be very much surprised. And I've seen a lot of Snyder fans really loving this movie. believe it or not. So, like, you're really not going to know until you try it out.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. Well, as for my final word, and probably not my final word, but my final word for the night on the Batman. If this is indeed the beginning of a new trilogy of films, it was a banger. And I hope it is financially successful. I hope it is well received by both the fan base and by the general public, which from all metrics seems like that is the case. And I think over the next few years, we are going to be in for one hell of a ride with this new Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman. If I were to score this film on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it and I might be a bit overly generous here, but I think it's warranted. I would give this movie a 9. There's just a little bit of room for improvement, but overall, it was a great experience both times through, and at least from my perspective, it warrants that rating. So, Thade, George, I'm going to let you give your scores on this film if you feel so inclined to give one, and then we will wrap up for the evening.
I usually don't do out of 10s, but I gave it on my review because I really had no problems with the film. I give it a rare A+. It's one of my top 3 favorite Batman movies. Dark Knight's still my favorite. I can't really determine between this and Batman Begins yet. I probably got to rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think since we've been discussing tonight, now that I've had more time to mull it over, talking to you fellas about it and everything, I originally on Poindexter Lounge gave this movie a 7. I think opinions and just discussing it and hearing everybody else's take, I think I'm going to raise that to an 8.5.
Fair enough.
I think this movie has chops.
Yes,
it's an amazing movie. I think everybody should give it a chance. And if you, for whatever reason, can't see it in the theater, at least try to catch it on HBO Max on April 19th.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Well, I want to thank all my guests who joined me this evening. Obviously, Thade, Zach Leary, George, and General Zod. Gentlemen, both whether you're here now or you were here, thank you for a wonderful stream, for a great discussion, a lot of fun, and a lot of great insight. So, I do want to let you all know I will be going live this coming Friday afternoon with the Council of Ones as we work our way through season 5 of Babylon 5. I am planning a retro review for next weekend. I haven't decided what the topic is going to be as of yet, but once I have made a determination on that, I will share it out on my social media. And as I mentioned before, we are 15 away from 500. So share this stream out to any and all of your friends. Tell them if they want to support a great little channel here on YouTube, a channel that believes in good discussion, fun discussion, a place that celebrates pop culture, debates it, discusses it. This is the place for you. So, as I often say, stay ambassadorial, have a great night, and until next time, these are the ambassadors, signing off.